Yes, the relay on YouTube. Check it out. Lots of stories about me on there. All the boxing facts and info that you want in a very entertaining, educational manner. The relay. Check it out on YouTube.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news.
Well, we'll start with this. Floyd Mayweather, the money man himself, released a lengthy comment addressing any Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather 2 rumors, any rumors of a rematch. He had this to say, and he says, "I find it real ironic how every time Pacquiao's name is brought up in the media, my name is always attached to it. This man's entire legacy and career has been built off its association with my name, and it's about time you all stop using my brand for clout chasing and clickbait, and let that man's name hold weight of its own. For years, all you heard was that Floyd is afraid of Manny Pacquiao. But what's funny is, when we finally fought, I won so easily that everyone had to eat their own words. All of the so-called boxing experts, critics, and jealous American quote-unquote fan base either went mute and ran for cover or made every excuse in the world as to why I should give Manny Pacquiao a rematch. My take on all this bullshit is that y'all are just upset that I broke Rocky Marciano's record and hate the fact that a black high school dropout outsmarted you all by beating all the odds and retiring undefeated while maintaining all my faculties, simply by making smart choices and even smarter investments. Ultimately, I will always have the last laugh." To which Manny Pacquiao himself replied, "At Floyd Mayweather, you come to my fight and then use my name in a post, but I'm the one that's trying to stay relevant? If you want to be relevant again, hashtag Maypac 2. To which Floyd Mayweather replied, "Let's stick to the facts. Bob Arum is no longer your promoter. So when it comes to Mayweather Promotions and PBC events, I'm the HNIC. Bottom line, I make more money than you. I beat you. Then I signed you. I was only at your fight supervising you, my employee, as any real boss would do. You made $10 million for 12 rounds, when I just made $9 million in under 3 minutes playing around in an exhibition with a pizza delivery guy. I beat you mentally, physically, and financially. Remember, you fight because you have to. I fight when I want to." These are just my thoughts. It's been approximately 3 to 4 years, roughly, but 3 to 4 years since the Maypac fight. And in those 3 to 4 years, it's not a secret that Manny Pacquiao has been actively pursuing a rematch with Floyd Mayweather. That's not a secret. That if any one of these two guys has been looking for, campaigning towards a rematch, it has been Manny Pacquiao and his team. After every Manny Pacquiao situation, in the subsequent years after the first Maypac fight, the name of Floyd Mayweather is always brought up by either Manny Pacquiao himself, his team, or his fans. That if any one of these two guys and any one of these two sets of fans are pursuing a rematch, it really isn't Floyd or his fans, it's Manny and his fans. So let's get that right out of the way. That if any one of these guys feels like they have unfinished business, it's not Floyd. It really is Manny. All the desire to see a sequel, to see a rematch come into fruition has been coming from the Pacquiao side of things, not the Floyd Mayweather side of things. I mean, the comments are all out there. You think about what Manny Pacquiao said before the Keith Thurman fight came into fruition, before the ink dried on the contracts. Hell, before there were contracts for ink to dry on. It was Manny Pacquiao's side of things that said that if they can't get Floyd Mayweather back into the ring for a rematch, they would settle on Keith Thurman. And ultimately, that's what they ended up doing. Why? Well, because Floyd's not interested in having a rematch. You ask Floyd what he's doing these days. You ask Floyd about the possibility of these things happening, and Floyd Mayweather has been saying the same thing year after year. I'm retired. So all the desire for a rematch, it's coming from Manny Pacquiao and his team, not Floyd. Yet Manny Pacquiao himself is trying to insinuate that Floyd Mayweather attended his fight
this past weekend
as a means to stay relevant. Yet Mayweather has stayed relevant all in the absence of Manny Pacquiao. That Floyd Mayweather has not needed Manny Pacquiao to stay relevant in the subsequent years after the Maypac fight. Need I remind you that he participated in an exhibition fight, a circus fight, because that's what it was. That's what it looked like to me. I didn't take it seriously as a contest, but better still, Floyd Mayweather managed to stay relevant without Manny Pacquiao by fighting Conor McGregor.
Remember?
In what was a mega something. I wouldn't call it a mega fight, a mega event, but better still, Floyd Mayweather managed to stay relevant in the absence of Manny Pacquiao when he participated in that. He moves on from that, letting everyone know that as far as the sport of boxing, competing at the elite level in the way that he did when he was an active fighter, he let everybody know that he's done with all of that, and now he's just doing shit for, fun. He's doing it for shits and giggles. He goes into another circus kind of situation in a Risen event. Risen, which he has some sort of business partnership, and he participates in what is interpreted as a sparring session of some sort with Tenshin Nishikawa. Once again, in the absence of Manny Pacquiao. And both of these events, both of these promotions, circus novelty fights, both of them grabbed headlines. It was all anyone could talk about at the time. So Floyd Mayweather has already shown and proven that he doesn't need Manny Pacquiao to stay relevant. But throughout the years, it has been Manny Pacquiao who's been regularly saying he wants a Floyd Mayweather rematch, where Mayweather just doesn't seem interested in it. What Manny's trying to imply is that Floyd Mayweather is trying to stay relevant by using his name, even though Manny's the one who's been using the other guy's name more than Floyd. He's trying to insinuate that Floyd is trying to stay relevant by showing up to his fight. But if Floyd was so interested in trying to stay relevant by showing up to your fights, then why wasn't he at the Lucas Mathise fight? You understand? Why wasn't he at that fight? Why wasn't he at the Jeff Horton fight in Brisbane, Australia? It seems that Floyd only really came into the picture as far as attendance for your fights when you crossed the street to the banner that he is affiliated with. In essence, you came to him. And many people, many pundits, fans, interpreted that as a segue, an avenue for Manny Pacquiao to get the rematch that he really wants without all the politics, without all the red tape that the first fight had. That, you don't got to worry about a lengthy set of negotiations if you're on the same side of the street as that guy, but rest assured that this was Manny crossing over to the Floyd Mayweather side of things, not vice versa. So when I see Manny Pacquiao saying these things, I get the feeling that he's just trying to lure Floyd, bait him into a rematch situation, because for years, it really has been Manny that's been campaigning for this rematch. If anyone is feeling a sense of unfinished business, it's Manny, not Floyd, because Floyd has moved on from the Maypac fight. He moved on from the Maypac fight into the Conor McGregor fight, the Maymac fight. And from that, he participated in some exhibition thing over there in Japan. But throughout all of that, it wasn't Floyd Mayweather that was campaigning for a rematch. It was still Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao has been pursuing a Floyd Mayweather rematch in all the ways that Gennady Golovkin is still pursuing a Canelo Alvarez rematch. I mean, that really has been the aesthetic. That's the way that it's played out, that one of these two guys is more interested in a rematch than the other. That has been the story
over the years.
So when Manny says these things, that Floyd was in attendance at his fight and that he's been using his name, those words come off as being very hollow.
You're doing that.
You're the guy who's been regularly using his name, and he's just responding to what you've already been doing.
So if we reverse engineer this machine, if we go back in time, hindsight being 2020, it's clear as day who's been pursuing this rematch. It has been Manny Pacquiao. But the question is, why? Why is it that after 3 or 4 years since the Maypac fight, why is it that he's still pursuing a rematch? I mean, it's pretty obvious that this thing might not happen. It might not.
I'm sorry.
But better still, that's the question. Why? I'll tell you why. Because Manny's the one who lost. Floyd's got no unfinished business with Manny Pacquiao. Floyd Mayweather proved what he said he was going to prove. He went in there, he handled Manny much easier than people thought he would, and he moved on. Whereas for Manny, that's still an open wound. And that's why he's the one who's pursuing a rematch. He's the one who's been campaigning for that in the subsequent 3 to 4 years after the first fight. This is why Floyd isn't interested at all. You think about this for a second. Does Manny Pacquiao actually even deserve a rematch? Is there really a precedence, given the characteristics of the first fight? Is there even a precedence for a rematch? Many people described the aesthetic of that fight as unappealing, unentertaining, boring. That's how they described the first fight. And those are all the characteristics of a Floyd Mayweather fight, not a Manny Pacquiao fight. In a Manny Pacquiao fight, people are getting hit in the face. There's a lot of back and forth. I mean, it is exciting, but better still, it does have characteristics. Where in the case of the Floyd Mayweather fight, it looked like he was in control of everything. It looked like he was the ring general. In all honesty, for me personally, that wasn't even a hard fight to score. It was plain to see who was winning that fight, and it was Floyd Mayweather. So in light of these recent events and these recent comments, the back and forth between the two fighters,
is there really even a precedence for a rematch? I ask myself this question.
There isn't.
And I dare say no. You know, there are other guys out there who had closer fights with Floyd Mayweather, gave him a harder night than Manny Pacquiao did. Marcos Maidana just so happens to be one of those guys. Marcos Maidana gave Floyd Mayweather a harder fight than Manny Pacquiao did. And what did Floyd Mayweather do in that situation? I'll tell you what he did. He gave Marcos an immediate rematch to settle the score. That if you guys think this guy can beat me, if you think that fight was that close, okay, we'll run it back. We'll do it one more time. And that's what they did. And Floyd beat Marcos more decisively in the second fight than he did in the first. The same is true of a fight that took place long before that against Castillo. A fight that is immortalized by Floyd Mayweather's critics, his naysayers, but what they don't talk about is the subsequent rematch. That was another guy who gave Floyd Mayweather a harder fight than Manny Pacquiao did, and that is another guy who Floyd Mayweather afforded a rematch opportunity. So it's not that Floyd Mayweather doesn't like rematches. He's clearly given two guys that deserved it rematches. But in the case of Manny Pacquiao, Manny is left wanting. And why? It's because the first fight wasn't close. There was no precedence for a rematch. Those other guys out there put up a better fight than you did. There is more of an argument for Floyd Mayweather to have given, I don't know, Miguel Cotto a rematch because he gave Floyd a harder fight than Manny did. There's more of a precedence for a rematch, or would have been, I should say, because Cotto's retired now too. But I would have understood that more than a Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather rematch because that fight wasn't close, it wasn't hard to score, it wasn't competitive. You look around in today's boxing environment, post-fight, after the Keith Thurman-Manny Pacquiao fight, you got guys saying a lot of things, you know. Obviously, Manny Pacquiao supporters, Manny Pacquiao's fans, the same fans who were complaining about the aesthetic when it was about Floyd and Manny, they didn't enjoy that fight. They weren't entertained. They didn't like what they were seeing. And these are the same people here today who are clamoring for a rematch. I mean, you guys need to make up your minds. Did you not like the first fight? I mean, for all intents and purposes, the first fight was not a fight that they enjoyed. It was not entertaining. These are the people that felt bamboozled. So why are you now here today clamoring for a rematch?
You want to see it again?
If the rematch went in the same way that the first fight did, if it did, that wouldn't change their minds about Floyd Mayweather. That wouldn't, make them lay off of that guy. So in that way, they're not asking for a rematch for some kind of catharsis from the first fight. The first fight was a decisive victory. They are asking for a rematch.
Not because he deserves one.
Because they are bitter that in their heart of hearts, they know that their guy, their horse in the race, their pony in the show, lost fight. And he is the one with unfinished business. He is the one that is in need of redemption. Bottom line. I mean, if you thought the first fucking fight was so bad, then why are you asking for a second? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Oh, I know what they're going to say. They're going to cite the phantom shoulder injury. The phantom shoulder injury that didn't become an issue until after the fight. Until after the outcome was decided. Before the fight, Manny Pacquiao is telling the world that God himself will deliver Floyd Mayweather to him. God will deliver him the victory. But after the fight, all we could hear about was Manny's injured shoulder, as if that services as some kind of an excuse in a sport where fighters regularly approach fights with pre-existing injuries. You remember that, Gennady Golovkin, when he fought Gabe Rosado, I believe that was the fight where Gennady Golovkin was suffering from the flu. Can you imagine having to fight a world-class fighter, even a world-class journeyman, while you're suffering from the flu? Golovkin battled through that and secured the victory. Maurice Hooker, who was last in action not too long ago, there was something visibly wrong with this fighter. I mean, you can see it. You could see in the corner the concern from his cornermen, the people in his team, that something's wrong with this fighter, even if they're not saying it. It's visibly apparent. And yet, Maurice Hooker was able to power through that and secure the victory. Hell, even Deontay Wilder, a guy who we don't pull punches on here on this channel, even this guy, who we don't even hold to the standard of a legend like Manny Pacquiao, but even this guy, in the Chris Arreola fight, a fight with Chris Arreola to where Arreola was a stand-in, he had to find somebody to fight because, two guys that he was supposed to fight, they tested positive. That was the Povetkin and Warzik situation. And in that situation, Deontay Wilder, in the fight, he broke his hand and his bicep became torn. It actually rolled up into his deltoid. But better still, he was able to secure the victory. You think about these different instances in the sport of boxing to where a fighter had to weather an injury and still managed to get the win. And suddenly Manny Pacquiao's shoulder excuse seems like no excuse at all. Like that's really, that's neither here nor there. You lost. That's the bottom line. Your fans didn't think you were going to lose, and you didn't think you were going to lose. The pundits, some of them, they didn't think you were going to lose either, but that's what you did. And if there was or wasn't, because some people aren't buying the shoulder injury because there was no mention of it before the fight, didn't seem like an issue, it only became an issue after the outcome was decided. But even if there was something wrong, even if, in this sport, fighters approach fights injured all the time. And the bottom line is, you're just angry that you couldn't get the job done. And that's why for the subsequent 4 years from the first fight, it has been Manny Pacquiao vying, campaigning, advocating, and strategizing towards a rematch that, one, he doesn't really deserve, and two, Floyd Mayweather doesn't seem interested in giving him.
To this day, many of Manny Pacquiao's fans try to find solace in compensating for that loss by saying things like, oh, well, Manny Pacquiao's legacy is better than Floyd's. And I don't know how much truth there is in that when Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao have competed at the same level throughout the same era, and the difference between them is every single time Floyd Mayweather stepped foot into the ring, he secured the victories. Sometimes some fights were closer than others, but better still, he got the job done, whereas Manny Pacquiao cannot say the same. And in addition to Floyd Mayweather's overall body of work, he has the name of Manny Pacquiao. He actually beat that fighter. So how can one in good conscience say that, Manny Pacquiao's legacy trumps Floyd's when Floyd actually beat Manny Pacquiao? And it's not like that's the only high-profile guy, high-profile name that he squared off against. He fought Oscar De La Hoya on Oscar's terms, at Oscar's weight. He didn't bring him down like Manny Pacquiao did. No, he had to go up for that fight. And he still managed to secure the victory against what was the A side. That's saying that if the judges were going to do anybody a favor in that fight, it wasn't going to be Floyd, because Oscar was the A side. He dictated the terms for that contest. The bona fide cash cow of boxing today, at least in this part of the world, Canelo Alvarez, is a guy who Floyd Mayweather handled quite easily. He made it look like, another day at the office. But this is a guy who's regarded by many, by some even, as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Yes, by some, they do consider him that. But this is a guy who Floyd Mayweather, he did handle rather easily. That's how history is going to remember that. There are particulars to be addressed, but better still, the fact remains that Canelo Alvarez and whatever great things he went on to do thereafter, having lost to Floyd, are only a reflection of Floyd's greatness, because this is a fighter who he beat. And at that time, Floyd was, in fact, the older, smaller, and regarded by some as the pillow-fisted fighter. Yet he was able to handle Canelo Alvarez and what he brought to the table more so than Gennady Golovkin. To surmise my thoughts on this situation regarding Manny, Floyd, and a rematch, there is no situation. There is no unfinished business. That was a decisive victory, and whether or not Floyd Mayweather wants to give Manny a rematch is entirely up to Floyd. But I will tell you that given that the victory was so decisive, there's not a precedence for the rematch because it wasn't close. So if Manny's sitting here today saying all this shit, and his fans, it's because, put simply, they're bitter, they're still bitter, 4 years later, that Manny lost.